Good day, Prof. Mendy and classmates. I will be presenting communication research on digital IoT, Internet of Things in farming under the cybernetic and critical tradition theories. I will be sharing with you the basic concepts of cybernetic tradition, critical theory, as well as IoT, and will proceed with a presentation on the communication research topic and questions, as well as the methods and approaches. Cybernetics has started in the 1940s, and related concepts like artificial intelligence also happened in 1950s. It is closely related with linear theory or machine learning theory, and this cybernetics is theorized as a processing of information and also characterized as a complex system or network analysis in information science. Now, what is critical theory in communication? This refers to the moral and political practice that aids in social actors to determine the dominant belief and practices that are muted. In critical theory, there are qualitative approaches that can be utilized, such as contextual interviews, focus group discussion, as well as usability testing. We'll introduce you as well to the term Internet of Things. So it refers to a complex concept of computers and communication paths. This refers also to things being networked together either at home or a workplace, and now estimated to around 20 billion network, and has applications in agriculture such as in precision ag. IoT devices may or may not be connected to the internet. So again, it is not necessarily be connected to the internet. And this there are three characteristics. So one is networking, for example, connected in the internet or connected in a LAN office. And the second one is sensing. So these are tools that are used to sense environment, for example, sensing temperatures. And then the third characteristic is actuators. So this refers to the IoT tools that are utilized for specific function, for example, turning on the lights. Now we look at digital IoT in farming. So the question is why? We are faced with challenges on food production and agricultural sustainability, and this is the area where I am passionate to work on. We also look at some of the gaps of evolving digital media relative to the readiness as well as the aging population and mindset of farmers. So, for example, the average Filipino farmer is around 53 years old, which could actually lead to shortage of farmers in the next 12 years. So some of the research questions that we will address includes how to demystify the cybernetic tradition of communication theory to help agriculture becomes progressive. Also, what are the digital communication strategies and approaches that can be implemented to address the problems of the muted and marginalized farmers under the critical theory of communication? Specifically, we will look into the available resources as well as access of digital agronomy and IoT communications in agriculture sector. Also, we want to understand how to theorize communication of marginalized farmers on digital agronomy access, acceptance, and inhibitions, especially due to the aging farmer population. And lastly, we have to know how communication theories can be applied into policies, resourcing, and actions to support the development and enhancement of IoT and digital agronomy communication relative to the strategic imperatives of the Philippine government. Now let's look at the research approaches and methodologies. It can be done through quantitative and qualitative approach, and Hillary provided some of these approaches. For this particular research, we want to look into quantitative analysis, focusing on multivariate as well as online surveys. In the case of qualitative method, we will utilize contextual interview as well as focus group. And for those studies, we will be looking at the diary studies methodology. There are several stakeholders that we are targeting. One would be the policymakers as well as developers, which include the governments such as the Department of Agriculture, Department of Science and Technology, and also private companies that are into IoT, such as Internet of Things Philippines Incorporated and Azopus IoT Technology. And of course, the marginalized farmers. So we are looking at 30 rice farmers to be included in this research study. And this is planned to be conducted next year from January to June 2024. Looking at the specific information of quantitative research, we'll look into the available digital agronomy and IoT programs for farmers through a desktop research, and we will do evaluation of these different variables in terms of implementation as well as communication effectiveness. And also, we will assess the mobile applications or social media platforms of both the public and private companies into this area of farming. In terms of qualitative research, we look into the contextual interviews and focus group discussions among policymakers, developers, as well as farmers. We plan to evaluate the content as well as communication effectiveness. So, in terms of content creation, we will evaluate the sources of information, selection tools from the subject matter experts or writers in terms of the accuracy and quality of the information on the platform. In terms of communication effectiveness, we will look at the approach and tools from these digital agronomy advices, looking at the feedback, reach, as well as utilization and impact to the farmers. It is critical to have a robust data, and these techniques would help in terms of quality data collection, such as developing rapport, observing the participants, use of probing methods, making sure successful interview context, using guides as well as recording, and of course, active listening. When the data are in and the analysis will be done as well as the communication report, we will look at three things. So, one is triangulation. So, the different sources of data will be evaluated to ensure data rigor and consistency. The second is on quantitative and qualitative approaches, utilizing descriptive as well as multivariate analysis. Specifically for qualitative analysis, we will look into data categorization and coding of the responses and developing those responses into themes. As such, the communication will be theorized, or like for example, the cybernetic relations of IoT, digital agronomy developments and communications, as well as critical theory of communication to marginalized farmers, policymakers, as well as developers. These are the list of references for my presentation, and thank you very much for your attention. I'm looking forward for our discussion and support for the references as well as recommendation from all of you. Thank you.